All right, it's Saturday. You know what that means. It's time for the half hour of horror, which, spoiler alert, goes on for about an hour. We are going to dive in because this is something we've been wanting to talk about for a while on the show. Chase and I have been talking about, and it is the legacy, the legend, the behemoth of horror television. We're diving into American Horror Story today. We have special guests, Skylar. He's been on the show before. He's back. Welcome, Skylar. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
And an actress from the show, she was in episode 3. She gets murdered. Abby, welcome to the show, Abby Cobb. How are you?
I'm so happy to be on a horror podcast this morning, Aaron.
Yeah, breakfast and talking horror. As with me as always. Oh, hey, it's Chase. What's going on, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Aaron? I'm very excited about this. Like you said, this is something we've talked about doing for a while. It's actually kind of been a kind of recurring thing the last couple of weeks. We've been talking about finally doing episodes we've been talking for the longest about doing. Last week we knocked out Saw. We had Jesse come on. That was a lot of fun. I'm very excited to talk about another one of my horror IPs, favorite horror IPs. And of course we have 2 awesome guests with us. So let's get into it.
Skylar's a bit of an expert. They've been doing reviews over on their channel, which you'll get to plug in a bit. And it is amazing, the amount of knowledge and coverage that you're going to bring to this episode. And of course, to have somebody who got to be in the murder house, got the set of the murder house. Let's start there. When you got on that show and you come in, are you on a soundstage or were you actually in a house?
You're talking to me.
Yes, Abby.
Okay, I wasn't sure, Skylar, if you were also there. I was actually, they switched around the episodes once they decided to edit and air them. So when I filmed it, it was the first thing they filmed after the pilot, and they had no idea how big it was going to be. The pilot used the real house and the real exteriors, and my day of filming, I guess, was the very first time they were on a soundstage with the replicated house.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, so they built the whole thing again at, I think it was Sony, the Sony lot, or no, 20th Century Fox lot.
I mean, that's awesome. I love the movie magic of, like, you don't really know where you are, but it's really hard to shoot in a basement. It's really hard to shoot in the cramped space of a home. So yeah, it's so much easier to build out these areas on a soundstage so you can pull out the walls. They call them wild walls.
Right.
Slide them out, get a camera in there. So that's awesome. Yeah, American Horror Story season 1. It was later called Murder House, and it is a fantastic haunted house ghost story. Skylar, what is notable for you about season 1? Why did it hit so hard? Why did it kick this legacy off of this amazing show?
I think I cut out there. If anything's directed at me.
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, we were asking, what do you think about this first season? What about this first show really kicks it off for this series?
Yeah, so, wow, that is a question. My internet was out for like a second. Okay. The first season of American Horror Story was so, unique, I guess, for the franchise because, it was the only one advertised not as an anthology, of course. They didn't know it would be picked up, of course. And I think your episode in particular is really significant. It's the first one with Lily Rabe. It's the first one with the Montgomerys. And I think you're technically the first patient that we see. And yeah, just from that, it's it kicks off the very vast lore that this show goes on to have.
Because we start jumping to the past at that point, meeting Lily Rabe, who appears multiple times throughout the season. She's fantastic in it. We learned
amazing.
Oh,
she is.
You learn that
I was so envious that you got to share a scene. You got to share a room with her. I was so envious of that.
She's as awesome as you think she is. So good. Taller than you think.
Really? Actors are notoriously short, right? What do they say about Tom Cruise? He's like, no, that's amazing. The Murder House is fascinating because all of American Horror Story takes American myth American legend, true stories, true crime, classic horror movies, and then like takes their DNA and weaves them into new stories. And Murder House is just has a lot of these classic haunted house things, but also has some very real stories. The whole thing about the secret abortion doctor in the basement of his house comes from one of the proposed solutions of the Black Dahlia murder. It's been disproven since, but there is a house that's actually like way more interesting than the house they picked. There's a house in Los Angeles that's a Frank Lloyd Wright house. It's called the Mayan House, and it's made out of it looks like a Mayan temple. That doctor had secret rooms in his basement where he did secret abortions and murdered women. His son, who became a police officer, was like, yeah, my dad's a total serial killer and probably did the Black Dahlia murder. They've disproven the Black Dahlia thing, but they're like, yeah, your dad's probably a serial killer. Murder House took that and wove it into the story, which I always think is just so wild and such does it in such a way that you're just like, it's seamless interaction with the rest of the story and all these intertwining timelines and intertwining characters. And of course, Jessica Lange, like, coming to TV was incredible. Her in this, she's incredible. She goes on to be just like skyrocket from here. Chase, what was your introduction to American Horror Story at this point?
So around this time, I used to watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia religiously. Yeah, so I would always see advertisements like in between commercial breaks for American Horror Story. And then finally, after the show ended, I finally got around to watching it. Again, this was really prior to the days, like we had Netflix and Hulu, but this was really before the wide availability that streaming would eventually become. And this is the days, if you wanted to watch an entire season of a show, you'd have to go to your Walmart or DVD store or Target and buy a Blu-ray. So I eventually just went and bought the Blu-ray and binge watched the show in like 3 days. I was just fascinated, just the performances, especially from Jessica Lange. You got Connie Britton, Dylan McDermott, Lily Rabe, just all these great actors. So many twists and turns, like you said, and like your character's in like this house built by this doctor who's running underground abortion clinics and infidelity and ghost babies and
ghost twins.
Ghost twin babies.
So melodramatic. This capitalized right at a perfect time, though. I mean, it comes out in 2011. 2010, The Walking Dead comes out, and this is what sets horror television into motion. There had been horror IP. We had Tales from the Crypt, but it was late night. It wasn't popular. It was on the fringes. It's still San Diego Comic-Con convention level things. Walking Dead suddenly makes horror television in prime time a viable thing. And AHS said, I got you. We had already had the popularity of Ryan Murphy's other shows, such as
like Glee and Nip Tuck.
Nip Tuck. Oh, like kids these days don't even know how wild things got on television. Like we think TV's weird now. Nip Tuck was out of control bizarre. I love that show. When they said the guy who did Nip Tuck is going to do horror, I was like, yes, let's see it. And when Murder House dropped it, it just changed the landscape. People were into it.
True Blood came out around this era too, right?
Bingo.
I did an episode of True Blood. I think it was like 2010, 2012, something right around there.
What did you do for True Blood?
For True Blood, I pop around on all these. I'm like a guest at someone else's party on every show at least one time, and I kill someone, or usually I'm killed. That one, I don't know the storyline, but it's a bartender, a black woman who is human, who then gets bit and turns into a vampire, like season 5. Spoiler alert. She's a series regular, Tamara or something. And I'm her first human victim after she is turned in the season finale or season premiere or something. I get a flat tire and I'm very sad and alone. And she comes upon me in the woods and lets me go. I'm almost murdered and then not murdered.
That's so fun. I mean, you didn't get to wear any fangs, but it's still awesome to be
alone in the woods,
stalked. Yeah,
you lived.
I did get a stunt throw onto the windshield of the car.
When you a lot of times you film your piece, like you said, then you have no idea where it's going to land in the show or how it's even going to be utilized or what it's going to be edited to look like. When you came back around, and did you watch the season?
I didn't. No. Nope.
Wow.
You just did. So when you come back and you find out what happens to yourself, I think it would always be a surprise to be like, oh, I didn't know that's where that was going to go on this day.
It's
Oh, I
weird
didn't
when
know.
the show gets big. Like American Horror
Yeah.
Story. No one knew it was. No one knew how to say American what. We all thought it was like a political 4th of July thing. I didn't know. I had no idea, but I loved that it was 1920s.
Yeah.
And I liked some of the stuff. I had to scream and cry, but I had no lines, which I was like, what do I do? What am I doing with no? What do I do? I don't say anything.
Just cry. Connie Britton's going to hold your hand.
Cry when I point to you. When the bad man points to you, cry.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool when shows kick off lore and life of their own. We have no idea if it's even going to air when we shoot this stuff. So some of it's garbage and you know it, and some of it's a hit and you don't know it, and it's fun.
So what was like your thought process when you heard like this show that you had a guest star role in had become this huge phenomenon, this really huge influence on television as we see it today? Because really, like with anthology television, like we got stuff like The Twilight Zone, of course, and Tales of the Crypt, where each episode was different. Each episode have a different cast, but you really didn't have anything, or we might have, but it was kind of uncommon where each season would be a completely different story with completely different characters, but a large majority of the cast would come back, just play different roles. And it kind of became this huge thing. Like, what was your thought process when you heard like, oh, wow, this is like this huge thing now? Like I was on the very first season, like
right. You don't know how special it is until it's over and it's gone. Like even when you're making a movie, you kind of don't know you have something special until it gets out. So I guess thought process is just an honor. It's really cool to be a part of things that people like, because so much of the television we make either it has to change because of editing, or it's like people doesn't find its audience till later or whatever. So it's cool. It's fun. It has this subculture and genre that follows me wherever. It's really fun to be a part of stuff like this that takes off.
When you said that you were talking about the billboards and nobody knew what it was, they infused a lot of kink in this, and that like really set people like, whoa, what is going on here? The imagery that they consistently use throughout all their seasons, their advertising and their billboards are just so on point. You know, the brain with the beehive in it, the weird leather guy, the spider women, the hotel with the key in the mouth. They have always been so on point. I mean, Skylar, you have some of those posters behind you. Do you have one that stands out to you that just, when you saw the poster, you were just like, I'm so stoked?
I really think it's those first two seasons have like the most striking marketing visuals, posters. The first season, Murder House, has a completely red background, model stand-in for Connie Britton on the bottom, and the rubber woman coming down from above. And the second season's my favorite. It's somewhere behind me, but it's the white nun with the black tears crying. That one's just really iconic, I think, to the show.
So good.
Skylar, I know like when we were in the waiting room before the show, we were all talking about when we kind of first started watching the show. Because I know I said, was in my early 20s when the show first aired, and now I'm in my mid 30s. And you were like, oh, I was a kid when the first season aired. So when did you first watch get into American Horror Story? Like, did you kind of just happen to catch it when you were a kid? Like, when it was on air, or did you kind of like watch it later on when it started getting put on Netflix?
So my family was a little weird with horror. Like, they weren't super cagey about it or anything. I was introduced to it pretty young, and yeah, we were watching The Walking Dead from the beginning. And so when American Horror Story began to be promoted, we were like, oh, maybe we can watch that. I was 12 years old. I watched the first episode the night it aired, and we decided maybe this is a little too much for me right now. And it was a lot going over my head. So I did take a break until around season 4. That would have placed me around high school. I had some friends that were upperclassmen. It was right after Coven. I think that was a really big thing for that age demographic. And so everybody was talking about Freak Show right before it was airing and then right as it was airing. And so I got into it during Freak Show. I believe the earlier seasons were on Netflix at that point. So I just watched them all. And then the rest is history.
And, I think one thing that's real neat about this show, and actually going to your point, Aaron, about Walking Dead, because you said American Horror Story first aired 1 year after Walking Dead. Like, for a span of, I would say, like 5 or 6 years, like both Walking Dead and American Horror Story were like two shows literally everybody watched. It was one of those, like, people the next day on college campuses. Everyone, Mondays, everyone was talking about Walking Dead from the previous night before, and Thursdays, everyone was talking about American Horror Story from the previous night before. It's kind of like how Game of Thrones had later become, where everyone was talking about it.
It was a water cooler show for sure, because it was shocking too. Like it was a show that pushed boundaries. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and it was like literally like Monday morning, everyone was like, "Oh, did you see that new Walking Dead episode yet?" And then it was like Thursday morning, "Hey, did you see that new American Horror Story?" I think now, like, I thought Game of Thrones for the longest. I guess now, I'm not too sure. I don't really watch much television now, but I guess maybe Stranger Things would be like kind of that next big thing that everyone kind of universally watches.
As you mentioned, this is pre-streamer wars in the lore and history of the streaming wars. This is before it really kicks off. Netflix was the only place where a TV show would land, and now that it's all over the place, like there's so many shows that it really has taken away that water cooler watershed thing that's happening. Like so many people are like, "Did you see this on Blip Blop?" And I'm like, "Is that a show? Is that a streamer? What are those words? What are we talking about?" Like nobody's watching the same thing anymore, and it's a bummer because I miss this. I missed that. Like, yeah, we watched it. We talked about it. Don't spoil it for me. Like, that was so cool. Before we move on from Murder House, one of my favorite conventions that this show did was with Frances Conroy, who played Moira O'Hara. She's the old maid. But when men see her, she's played by Alexandra Breckenridge, who plays a young, like, super sexy version of her. That was a real mind-blowing thing for me, and like the unreliable, like, who's it going to be, who do they see, and that show really did kick off these pretty fascinating, like, twists and turns. It was very melodramatic, very soap opera in that sense. It had room to grow, but like this is it's an amazing piece, and really set up the anthology of it all with Jessica Lange, Tissa Farmiga, I'm going to butcher her name, sorry, but Lily Ray, Frances Conroy, and Evan Peters, of course, who was a breakout star. Sarah Paulson,
yes. Who has appeared in a few episodes. Before we move on, though, to Asylum, Abby, Mike said that you have a really cool Drag Me to Hell story.
Oh, yes. Well, Drag Me to Hell was the very first job I had when my boots landed on the ground in LA, and I was Allison Lohman's double and stand-in because I was her same height and hair color. So I did the whole movie. I did the entire movie. I just swapped places with her at the last second. So I was in her wardrobe with her hair, knew all of her lines, had the sides, rehearsed the scene, worked out the blocking with Sam, and they did all the lighting. I learned the stunts. I did the stunts. And then at the last second, she came in and said the lines. So it was like best training in the world for me because I got to do an entire feature film, which I didn't know Sam Raimi. I didn't know the lore. I didn't know the car. I didn't know how cool it all was. And then it was about 7 months of my life. And at the very end, I hope you've all seen it because spoiler alert.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah.
He goes, go see wardrobe. I have a line for you. And I was like, so I ran to the wardrobe truck and they put me in like a whole thing. And I was a onlooker at the train station. And I go, that girl just fell on the tracks in the last moment of the movie. And that was my first line on a reel. It was my first IMDb credit, first line. And it was Sam being kind because I don't even think that made it into the final. I might be on there. I'll have to look and see. But it was so great. And from that one line, I got a manager. And from getting that manager as an actress, I booked something I think a month later for Disney Channel, and then a movie. I booked a movie over a TV show every month after that for 3 years. It was like Drag Me to Hell was the biggest gift. It set the whole course for my whole career and what I do now. So it's
That's
awesome.
amazing. All it takes is one line. That woman fell on the train tracks.
That girl just fell on the tracks. Giant spoiler alert. She
That's
gets
amazing.
dragged to hell. Don't blame me.
The boat sinks. You don't say.
The thing that happens in the title, the thing that
Yeah.
the title says is going to happen, happens.
We
I love
told
it.
you what was going to happen, and then it happened.
Sam Raimi's a funny guy, though. Did you meet his brother too, Ted?
I don't think is
his-
Ted his brother?
Ted's his brother. He's in all his movies, so it's like I just don't know if does Ted just hang out on set all the time?
No, he was supposed to work. They were going to do a cameo. The chin guy, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's Bruce.
Oh, Bruce. That's I was like, they're brothers?
Shin guy.
No.
Didn't
That's his buddy. But yeah,
They
yeah,
were trying to
Ted-
get Bruce on set, but he was doing a show in Australia or something, so he couldn't even get it.
Burn Notice.
Burn Notice. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that was it. They did work in the car. The car made it in the 80s. I forget.
Classic car.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah,
Actually,
the
I have a
gold
box.
Oldsmobile.
I make a box for every show I'm on. This is my American Horror Story box. I got
What's
out
in
my
there?
Drag Me to Hell box just to see, and the handkerchief that belongs to the grandma Lamia old lady where she like gets stuck and thrown into the grave. I have that. I have a couple like rocks and glass and stuff from the train yard. It's fun.
That's
Little,
I like this box.
little props and
That's
stuff.
awesome.
I try to save something from every show.
What was in the American Horror Story box?
Well, Aaron, I'm glad you asked. Inside, for $9.99.99. No, just it looks like I have some call sheets from episode 102 Murder House, back when no one knew. I have a copy of the script.
Back when it was 102.
I have my stockings from 1917. They made me try on all the clothes were real from like I tried on a dress from pre-Titanic for that show. This is a wardrobe that says, please use the garter belt to hold up your stockings and put the garter over the money to hold the money. Thank you. So I had fake money. I guess I had to tie the garter. I was supposed to pay for the abortion and they murder me. I think that's what happens. I don't know. It was just lots of crying. And that's the magic box. Jason, Aaron, isn't that exciting?
That's super fun. I mean,
That's awesome.
I try to keep a bunch of stuff from. I didn't steal a lot of things from Walking Dead, but I do have a handful of like stuff that I did. All my props are like digital in the computer. Like I only get to look at them. I don't get to so it's nice when you get to actually hold a prop and keep it. To move on, terrible segue, but let's just roll with it. To move on to the second season of American Horror Story, Asylum. This is one of my all-time favorites. It hit so many great things for me. I obviously knew who Jessica Lange was, but this just made me respect her as an actress to the ultimate level. She blew me away in this. Zachary Quinto scared the shit out of me. Sarah Paulson just absolutely dominated the screen. There's so many great moments in this and so many interesting and creepy things. To tie it into the real world, there's a film called Titicut Follies, and it's a journalist who sneaks into an insane asylum and recorded a bunch of stuff as a documentary. It is 100% real. Titicut Follies is actual footage from an insane asylum of how they treated mentally ill people, and it is horrifying. And this movie and AHS Asylum is like, yoink, drop it in. Let's add aliens. Let's add murder. Let's add possession.
Demons,
evil nuns, Nazi scientists. They literally throw everything at the wall, plus the kitchen sink, in every one of their seasons. And anything that can fit into an asylum, they did it. And it even has a Killer Santa, and I am obsessed with Killer Santa movies. This season just did it all for me, and I was obsessed. And this is the season that my wife and I really got into as well. So love it, love it, love it. Chase, talk about Asylum. Tell me your thoughts. What do you like about it? Where does this land for you?
Yeah, so this is among like if I had to rank all the seasons, well, for me, I'm more biased towards the first three. For me, the first three would always lay kind of around the top. This is the first season I actually got to watch live as it was airing, because again, I didn't watch Murder House until when it came out on Blu-ray. Yeah, this one to me is what really made American Horror Story that kind of water cooler show that everyone was kind of talking about. Because like you said, everything's just thrown at it. Like you got demon possessions, evil nuns, aliens, like you said. You really get to see what two actresses who had kind of smaller parts in Murder House, who kind of got promoted to season regulars, Sarah Paulson and Lily Rabe. You really get to see what they can both do as actresses. And to me, this is what really kind of, when people talk about like the fandom American Horror Story has, and people talk about like their fondness for Sarah Paulson and Lily Rabe, to me, like this is kind of what put them on that radar. Of course, you got Jessica Lange, who's amazing. You got Chloe Savini, who's amazing. Joseph Fiennes, James Cromwell, Zachary Quinto. Like just a great cast, and just so like again, same thing. So many twists, people betraying each other. Yeah, it's just so great.
Joseph Fiennes, who had won, who was up for an Oscar. He was in Shakespeare, Shakespeare in Love,
Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah, I mean, they have managed to get some of the best actors and actresses around to play all these just wild parts. It's really dark. One of the staples for the show, we get Naomi Grossman, who plays Pepper, who is I don't know if this is going to be the correct term, but she was a pinhead in the show, and she returns as a character in Freak Show, which was awesome to see. Just so much oddity all brought together, and this season was so dark. Just holy cow, so dark. And there's a whole plot line where Sarah Paulson's kept in the asylum against her will, unjustly, for being a lesbian, which is, something that happened in real life back then, which is horrible. And she's tormented by evil Jessica Lange, who's an evil nun, but then gets a redemption arc. At one point, Sarah Paulson gets freed by Zachary Quinto, and then he kidnaps her, and it turns out he's a serial killer named Bloodyface in the basement. I was like, you got to be kidding me. When that turn happened, I don't know how I didn't see that coming. When I was rewatching, I was like, obviously that's what's going to happen, but I didn't see it. And it took me by surprise so hard. And then it's just so horrifying when he kidnaps her. Oh my God, we were losing our minds. Skylar, when you get to this season, what hits you? What characters stick with you? What do you like about this season?
Asylum is, I would say, the best season. I used to call it my favorite season, but it is just so dark. But what I now call my favorite season is also so dark, but it's Hotel. But I just think
yes,
they're all pretty dark. Those first 7 are very dark, but I don't know. Asylum is harder for me to go back to, but when I do, it is just so riveting. And that first time you watch it, it takes like the, I guess, bingeability of the first season, like you need to know what happens next. And when it happens, that's not what you're expecting. But season 2 does it like even more so. And it literally takes you places in the asylum you didn't expect. And the aliens are like, a big like bookend to the show that don't really get explained, but they add like a whole nother layer to the religion of like the whole theme of the season is religion. And like, what if we don't know what is really the almighty power of the world? And, there's these beings that will never get explained. That's what sticks with me, aside from like what you said, Jessica Lange, Sarah Paulson, Lily Rabe, like giving the performances of arguably the series in that season.
And one thing about Jessica Lange that she's even admitted herself, because of course 70s, 80s, and early 90s, Jessica Lange was a huge star in the entertainment world, 2-time Oscar winner. something we talked about in our Substance episode, you and I, Aaron, when we were covering the Substance. Like, Hollywood has an awful habit of kind of tossing away older actresses as they begin to age. And Jessica Lange, unfortunately, was kind of one of those victims of actresses who, when they started hitting their mid 40s, late 40s, 50s, she kind of got tossed aside, and we really didn't see much of her. And she's even admitted that American Horror Story had really rejuvenated her career, because all of a sudden now she was everyone was speaking her name. She was winning awards again. She was getting these really great roles again. And I love to see that this show really brought her back after she was unfairly just kind of tossed aside due to aging. Here she is now back in the spotlight, getting these awesome roles and showing what she can do once again.
And I think just to add on to that, like, even with her castmates that are like so much younger than her at the time, like Sarah Paulson has also spoken to similar sentiments. Like, you know, she had, you know, probably like 10, 15 years before she got on American Horror Story. But by that point, I don't know how old she was, but like, I imagine in her 30s, and that's when, you know, the roles start to change and the offers, depending on circumstances, depending on success, really start to wane. And, you know, Abby, you could certainly speak to this, but like Sarah Paulson, even being so young, like on the show, was facing ageism, because that's just, frankly, the industry is ageist, and you could be 25 and, you know, be turned down for roles because of that.
Yes, it's real, and it sucks, and it's stupid, but it is changing, which is nice.
Yeah,
it is.
It's really
again, I have noticed like a big change, because again, 2 years ago, the winner for the Oscar for Best Actress was Michelle Yeoh, who's in her mid 60s, which is awesome to see. You have Demi Moore, who's in her 60s now, really, who has been brought back to the spotlight thanks to the Substance. You got Nicole Kidman, who is still crushing it, you know, after all these years. She even said she won an award for something. She said, this was a few years ago, she was like, you know, 10, 15 years ago, I wouldn't be on this stage right now. I would just be getting, you know, I wouldn't be getting roles. She's like, but things have thankfully changed to the point where now I'm in my 50s and I can get these great roles.
Right.
Well, when you can see Jessica Lange come into a role like this and just put the fear of God as an evil nun back into your heart, where you're like, oh man, you don't want to cross her. It's incredible. One of her favorite roles I did, I have to espouse this movie, minor tangent, Titus by Julie Taymor. She plays the evil mother in the film Titus. It's Anthony Hopkins. It's Shakespeare. It's weird, and it is awesome. And for those of you who don't know Titus Andronicus, it's about a general who comes back from war, and a woman who is his enemy in politics sends her sons to assault his daughter, and to get revenge, they cut her hands off and cut out her tongue. To get revenge, he butchers her sons and feeds them to her in a pie. Spoiler alert to a play from the 14th century, and then feeds it to her and then murders everyone in the room. It is a horror movie. This is a hallucination, because it's all anachronistic. They're like playing arcade games and driving in cars, but also speaking in Shakespeare and dressed like Romans, covered in mud. It is bananas. Julie Taymor most famously did Across the Universe as a film, but brought Lion King to the stage. So if you guys are into some Shakespeare fun, Titus, I cannot recommend more. Jessica Lange as the evil mother is so good. But she in American Horror Story has just been a powerhouse. I'm sad that she stepped away from it, but look, everything comes and goes. I will say this about Asylum before we keep cruising along our journey. This is when you start to notice something. This is one of my criticisms for the show. And I think all fans kind of have said a similar sentiment one way or another. The show always starts out so strong, grips you in, tears your emotions up, and then there's a mid-season break. And this is what happens when shows were aired on television. They would have to take a mid-season break to catch up with what they've shot and what they've edited. And that mid-season break would always throw a wrench in coming back to this show, because right when you would come back, you'd have like 2 or 3 episodes that kind of felt like they were spinning their wheels before they caught you back up with the first half of the season and then finish the story. And I would always call it the 7, 8, 9 slump. And I think that American Horror Story has always kind of had this trouble where near the end of the season, before they get to like let's resolve the main story, there's a few episodes of spinning their wheels. And when the aliens show up and then our main characters escape the asylum, for most people, you're like, well, it's done, right? What happens? And then they get into this like sort of like hippie commune thing, and like Sarah Paulson becomes an author, and it's sort of this denouement that feels like it's spinning their wheels. And it's not bad. At least it wraps the story up, but it takes a while doing it. And I always feel like that American Horror Story has these moments in every season where you can point to it and you're like, it could have ended at 2 or 3 episodes ago. And I think that's kind of why now they're doing double feature. They're doing shorter runs. I don't know if
refusing to end the story.
Yeah, right.
They're refusing to end the story.
Yeah, 100%, right? How do you guys feel about that assessment? Is that unfair or true?
Yeah, and I do agree with you. I think one thing though, the later seasons they have stopped the mid-season break now, because what it used to be, like I think the first season kind of ran through Christmas, like no break. The second, I think it was like the second, third, fourth, and fifth is when they started the mid-season break. So they stop around like early December and then pick back up with like the last 3 or 4 episodes in January.
Yeah.
Season 6, what they started doing was they starting it earlier, like what was it, Skylar? Like early September is when they started now. Yeah.
Roanoke was September. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, well, I know New York City was October again, but
yeah,
they did like 2 episodes a night. That was really weird.
Yeah.
But
throw it all at the wall, see what sticks, right? Getting people to watch has always been tricky. But they keep trying, let's try different things. Let's split the season up. Let's tell multiple stories, 2 episodes a night. Why not? I think this show could have really benefited during the streamer wars to be in a streamer fashion where you just get to binge it, because this is a bingeable show.
Yeah.
And I think it's a testament to how well it's written, that even when an episode is spinning its wheels, you're still in it because it's so good. You are still hooked. Even at American Horror Story's lowest, it's still pretty damn good. It's still pizza, right? Even the worst pizza is still pizza. It's good pizza, right?
Aaron, have you seen Double Feature? That's kind of debatable.
No, I haven't. So, I knew when to hop off the train.
That's one of those cases where it's shitty pizza.
Oh man, it's like that like really bad microwave pizza. Anyway, enough pizza. Let's talk about Coven. This is when the show became so soap opera, but I was hooked. I didn't care. Jessica Lange, bring it on. We got a bunch of witches in New Orleans. You've brought in the lady from Misery, whose name I'm brain farting out.
Kathy Bates. Angela Bassett.
What a treasure. Angela Bassett. What a treasure. You now have
and not just that, they also brought in, sorry for interrupting, Andrew, but they also brought in Emma Roberts, who was like at that point like teen idol hot.
Scream Queens, yes.
Yeah.
So like this was just a crazy season, because not only are you doing all this, it's almost an all-female cast. You have Sarah Paulson, Francis Conroy again, Evan Peters is like a Frankenstein boy. The cast is out of control. The scenes with Jessica Lange and Angela Bassett, just ice cold. They are so cold to each other. I'm in love with this season just because of the drama that it brought. Gabourey Sidibe, coming off of her Oscar win for Precious, just crushing it in this as well. Jamie Brunner, they have a disabled actress who has been in the previous season. She was in Murder House and she came back for this. really delivering phenomenal performances and just what's not to love.
Broadway legend Patty LuPone makes her first appearance in this.
Wait, Patty LuPone's
season.
in this?
She is. Was like 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, isn't she the neighbor?
Yeah, she's the psycho-religious neighbor
Oh
who abuses her son. Yeah,
that is amazing. I mean, Patty LuPone, obviously famous for being Evita on Broadway, amazing. And of course, another musical absolute legend, Stevie Nicks, who the Swamp Witch herself makes an appearance in the show, which when they were like teasing that, they're like, next week Stevie Nicks was going to be on, we were like, what? I'm a huge Fleetwood Mac fan. I got to see Fleetwood Mac in LA for their final concert with the full lineup before they broke up again, because that's all they do. Get together, break up, get together, break up. Incredible season. Highlights. What's a big highlight for anybody to take? Skylar, what's a good highlight for you from this season?
I mean, you called it with the performances. It's Kathy Bates, Angela Bassett. I mean, it's their first season, and it just establishes why they kept getting asked back. And honestly, it is the most star-studded cast, and you could turn on any episode, any scene, and you're just enthralled by the performances. Jamie Brewer, Gabby Sidibe, all of them. Like, it's just all stars. And yeah, it's the performances. It also goes way harder with like almost shock value. Obviously, the first 2 seasons have their fair share of that, but this one goes way harder. It's definitely another one that is hard to rewatch. But like, it's very like emotionally encapsulating and guttural and believable, even though you're watching these witches like throw each other against the wall when there's obviously like strings pulling them back, you know. But it just feels, honestly, like it's definitely a peak of performances, I think.
Yeah. Chase, what made this season a highlight for you?
Oh, this is actually my favorite season.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, whenever I think American Horror Story, to me, this is what I think. You have 3 of the greatest actresses of all time: Angela Bassett, Kathy Bates, Jessica Lange, just all nailing it. All their scenes, they have amazing chemistry together. I mean, again, you have the great cast, of course: Sarah Paulson, Lily Rabe, Evan Peters were so beloved by the AHS fan base at this point. You have, like you said, Gabourey Sidibe, who was just coming off Precious and all the awards and stuff and the claim she had just gotten. So people were kind of wondering what's her next move. And it was this. And it was so cool to see this actress who really broke out with this movie that was getting all these awards and all this acclaim and everything. And people are like, oh, what's she going to do next? I'm just going to do a season of American Horror Story. That's what I'm going to do next. And that's just awesome. You have Emma Roberts, who, like I said, at this point just came off Scream 4 and kind of established herself as a scream queen. You got so many twists and turns. You got so many campy moments, people betraying one another, people double crossing one another. And it's just, but it all makes sense. It's not just a convoluted mess. It all comes together perfectly. And that's why, to me, this is like the quintessential AHS season.
To give a brief historical context, the character that Kathy Bates plays, Madame Delphine Lalaurie, is based on a true character, a shitty person who kidnapped slaves and tortured them. Awful. Oh, we hate it. But what a great character she gets to play. And she's kind of a comedic character. Like, for being a torturous, evil person, they treat her so badly, but in a way that you're kind of like, it's funny.
she becomes the witch's punching bag, and it's kind of deserved.
It is. And it's such a weird thing. And then Marie Laveau, the character Angela Bassett plays, is a folklore legend in Louisiana. And I mean, anybody who's been down to Louisiana or anywhere near there, you know how rich with history and legend and, you know, voodoo, witchcraft, all that stuff.
And on that note, one of the major things about Coven that I think makes it so rich is that they film on location in New Orleans. They utilize a lot of these historical places, and it's just that just elevates everything when they are on location, like in New Orleans.
It's awesome. If this is also where things start to get really convoluted, and from here on out, all the seasons after this are super. They bring that soap opera level. This kicked it up a notch, and they keep it here from here on out. It's awesome. It's creepy. The Minotaur is terrifying, like absolutely terrifying. It's awesome. This is that to me is like every season has been cranking up, and now we get to Freak Show, which is obviously a huge nod to Town Browning's Freaks. We have Killer Crown, Cropsy, who is just horror incarnate. Zachary Quinto's back, being freaky as hell. A great season to come in. Great season to dive into it. Skylar, I know you said this is when you started watching the show on television, not just catching reruns. How did it hit you? What did you think about this one?
It's honestly another heavy one, obviously, but that first episode, it's pretty long, but it's like in the 40s. It starts in the 40s, ends up in the 50s. It just feels like you're watching a movie. I feel like that for the way Freak Show kicks off is maybe like the most cinematic. Obviously, Hotel is very cinematic as well, but like honestly, it's like it could be cut into like a horror film, that those first couple of episodes, and that's what really grasped me. It was one of the first shows that really took what I loved about movies and put them into TV. And obviously, as that was my introduction to the show, more or less, the previous seasons have their fair share of homages and references and all that, but Freak Show is another visual highlight for real.
I have a question. Can I ask you a question?
Please.
So we haven't really talked about Ryan Murphy yet, who created and is the reason all these brilliant people are saying yes. As you were talking about the Kathy Bates and the Angela Bassett, like people, he attracts people like that, because if it's a Ryan Murphy, so that name carries so much weight. So even if an offer comes across your desk and you don't know what the show is, you know people like it, you don't know what the second, you say yes because it's Ryan Murphy. But I have a question for you guys, since I haven't seen the arc of how the seasons come together. Normally you can spot when the showrunner left to make another show. Because like for Lost, J.J. Abrams, it's like season 1, season 2, season 3, freaking awesome. And then season 4, he went and started making something else. I forget what it was. It wasn't
Star Wars?
Yeah, maybe. So he
Star Trek.
Very busy, and other people kind of did. He didn't have approval necessarily on the other stuff, or maybe he did, but he didn't have time to like direct or whatever. Can you tell when? I mean, because he did. I don't know if it was 6 Feet Under, Nip Tuck or whatever, and then it was Glee, and then it was American Horror Story after Glee, and before Scream Queens, before what I don't remember what else he's done. But can you tell where the shift happened, or was he hands on and it was amazing and it was all Ryan all the time until the end?
I have an answer. It's a little.
I do too.
It's a little gray, but like 1 through 5. Hands-on, you can tell, and you can tell with interviews and the way he promotes the show. He was very hands-on. And then around then is when all of his other shows started to happen. Scream Queens, American Crime Story, others that aren't coming to mind. But like they honestly, from that point on, every year, it just multiplied by 2. And what were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, really, with the later seasons that most people say this is awful, was when he signed his deal with Netflix. And it was just kind of like he was more focused on his Netflix shows like Ratchet, The Politician. I think he directed a movie, Monster, like all these other shows. And that's really when it just...
Yeah, I would say 6 through 8 is when he's balancing these projects, and he's definitely leaning on to his other producers, his other writers, etc., assistants, whatever. He definitely had his hand in 6 through 8, especially 8, but it's definitely not the like oversight that it once was. But then 9 through present, it's almost like he's absent, and interviews with the cast will say, yeah, he was not on set, and things like that. But yeah, from season 9, it's pretty much not on set vibes.
I didn't mean to derail. I was just curious.
No,
if you
No,
guys-
not at all. But I
That's a good
do
point.
actually have a question in regards to that to you, Abby, because it's in regards to Ryan Murphy. Ryan Murphy has a fan base of his own. He's one of the few producers that, you know, can say that. So many American Horror Story fans are also fans of his other projects, and you were on 911, which I think of his shows that are running right now has a really avid fan base as well.
Yeah.
So if my memory serves correctly, you crashed like a mobile home on a bridge before it collapsed, but they rescued you.
Yes.
Tell me if you have any fun stories about that experience.
Oh my gosh, it was the best. It was great.
Okay.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so good. I was in trapped in a van, like a car accident they did a collapse of the 710 bridge in Long Beach. So they closed the whole bridge and they built this crazy thing where the bridge had fallen during an earthquake. So the 911 team is arriving to rescue everyone in the earthquake. I'm in the ambulance, and then there's another aftershock. So then I'm in the ambulance for the second part of the season finale, trapped, and all the firefighters are having to be rescued. So it was quite a cliffhanger of a season finale, and it was the week of the Oscars where Angela Bassett was nominated for her first Oscar.
Wow.
So I was actually filming on Oscar Sunday, the season finale that was going to be the series finale because it hadn't been
Potentially,
renewed. Yeah. And the whole crew, everyone was looking at their phones because you become a little family. And it was their first time as like a crew, like union guys and grips. They all had someone to root for the Oscars, because normally there's not crossover in television leads of like who would be there. So it was such a weird, cool energy. I think I filmed for 3 weeks down in Long Beach for that finale. And it was like a mini movie because it was a 2-hour thing. It was no American Horror Story. Back on track. Here we are.
Did you?
HS.
I love that. Thank you for making up for my horrible transitions. That was a good cycle back. Did you get to meet Ryan Murphy ever?
Oh yeah. He was very hands-on for Murder House. Because it was I think it was even the first day or two back from the pilot being picked up. So he was very much like meticulous about color, about what we were wearing, about the props, about very, very, very hands-on.
And it also goes back to your point, Abby, where you talked about like his previous shows. It kind of seems like when people talk about kind of the downfall of kind of quality of Glee, the previous show he had did, a lot of people will say it was around the same time American Horror Story kind of first came on, because that's when Glee kind of became this real compelling musical comedy drama to just them singing Katy Perry songs for every episode.
When you get it as a creator, you make this thing and then you always want bored. You're bored. You never stop. So if you get greenlit for something else you've been dreaming of, I get wanting to pass it off, but man, it's sad if quality suffers. Sometimes people do it well and they can juggle everything, but
I mean, that's what a power producer is all about, though. It's like just getting that next show to keep the legacy going. I was on the Fox lot working on the Mick, and he was like wandering the back lot, and he was on a phone call, yelling at somebody on the phone, having a very stern conversation. And I was just like, oh, wow. And like suddenly, like, you know, you can wander a back lot. You're in the middle of New York, and there's this and that, and just to see him in this space, and it's just me and him on a long street. And I have to walk past him. It was as if I walked into his office all of a sudden. he had escaped here to have this important phone call. Here I am, just like,
Oh my God,
it was just-
listening to you.
yeah, I'm just wandering around the lot, like wasting time, and it was just like it was so awkward. But I walked past and just gave him a nod, and he gave me a nod. And that was it. But I was like, yeah, that's so cool, right?
It's
Back
so surreal when the curtain is lifted and the movie magic is like, I did an episode of 2.5 Men with Kathy Bates, the Kathy
Wow.
Bates. And you're in the room with these legends, and you're, how am I at this table? Who are you? How? And that's what I think of when you guys talk about, I don't know, her in whatever season. It's like, oh yeah, I remember we ate Cheerios together. She's a person.
right?
Oh, we get to do this for our job. It still surprises me.
So one of our listeners, KG, longtime listener, OG fan, Abby, how was working on Cottonmouth with Ron Perlman and Isai Morales? Is it still? It is premiering at the Mammoth Film Festival in a couple of weeks.
Cottonmouth was awesome. It's a cowboy, bloody, violent, awesome. I'm like a brothel. I have the corset and the Western and the Sunset. We shot it in Tulsa. It was so cool. They were so cool. The movie is so great. I got to see a small cut of it last week. And the Mammoth Film Festival, I think, got pushed because of the fires. So everyone that was running it, I think, lost their homes, ? So I think they're doing a different kind of release for it now. But it's a great movie, and I'm glad that you are excited to see it.
I mean, Ron Perlman, obviously, just legend of the horror screen space. Just one of the best, and that's awesome that you got to work with him. He wasn't under 8 inches of makeup this time, as he's been playing Hellboy in the past. Like, I love when you get to see him, because he's just one of those guys. He's like, I don't know how I became a movie star. With his face, and he's so funny because he's just great. I love Ron Perlman. That's awesome. Where were we? American Horror Story. Again, I'm
Freak
awful at
show.
transition.
Freak show.
Awful at transition.
Sorry. That was
Cropsy
my-
No, you're good.
no, you brought it back. You gave me the
Yeah.
layup to just go back to
American
HS,
Horror
and I was
Story.
like, and we were like, nah, I'm gonna fumble that layup and just toddle my way back into it. Freak Show, so fun, such a weird season 2. Just visually, they just were like, let's get weird, guys. I'm here for it. Evan Peters back again. I love that they hired so many differently bodied actors for this. Like, you actually had a guy with tiny arms. You actually had somebody missing their legs. And again, so reminiscent of Todd Browning's Freaks, which we've done screenings for with the Block of Horror. One of my all-time favorite films, and it was so cool to see them expand on that story in a way that was pretty fascinating, really creepy and weird. Great, interesting time period with carpetbaggers and that sort of 1920s, 30s eras. Just really cool. And then, of course, Cropsy the Clown, who's terrifying and missing a jaw, and the scene where he pulls his face off, I lost it. I was so freaked out. It's great,
Oh yeah.
top notch.
This again is one of the top season of. It is the last season with Jessica Lange, as she would leave the show immediately after. Again, I was slightly disappointed with it when it first came out, because to me, Coven, for my personal taste, set
for
this
sure.
high bar. So when it didn't meet that, I was like, oh. But now going back and looking at the season, I still really enjoyed it. I still think they killed off Twisty too soon. I think he should have been the big bad for the season. But other than that, Jessica Lange's great. Sarah Paulson's great. Again, cast nails it. The aesthetic of it, the kind of freak show in the 50s, phenomenal look. The great season.
So good. It's fascinating, but like right after this, like you said, it definitely did leave some aspects that people were kind of like, Coven was better. I don't think that's an argument, but people liked it. It's fun. But now they start advertising Lady Gaga's going to be in the next season, and it's like, oh,
I still remember that promo,
Yeah.
black and white, her ripping something off. Hotel. Like,
yeah. So we get into Hotel. This is my favorite season. Between this and Asylum, I think this is peak.
Skylar too, right? Didn't you say Hotel was your favorite? Yeah.
Yeah. Skylar, why? Why is it the best?
Well, aside from I've been a Lady Gaga fan since her debut. So that obviously being a fan of both and having the worlds intertwine is, always a good thing. And her role in this is I think it's my favorite role that she's ever played. And yeah, so much of it is focused on her character, and that's what I really am drawn to about the season. But the rest of it is also just the most visually unique, the most dreamlike, the most like stunning visuals the show has ever seen. It's the last season with cinematographer Michael Goy. It's the last season they filmed with film cameras. The most extravagant set they've ever built, and it just really the most expensive, the most costumes they've ever made for the show, and just rich, honestly, the most rich visuals. Visual peak for sure.
Insanely cool looking. And
Yeah.
when you want to talk about characters, I want to bring up the powerhouse performance of Dennis O'Hare as Liz Taylor.
Yep.
I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute, but we have like crazy vampire stuff happening, murder hotel stuff happening, historical context. Devil in the White City is one of the best books about the World's Fair and serial killer H.H. Holmes. H.H. Holmes is a serial killer who built a hotel in Chicago during the World's Fair, and he built this so that he could kill people, collect their bodies, and sell their skeletons to colleges. And that was a racket he ran for a real long time before he got caught. That's kind of what it's based off of, but the big overarch what it's based off is the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, one of the most haunted places on the planet. If you want to go into a deep dive of insanity, look up the Cecil Hotel. Many famous serial killers stayed at the Cecil Hotel around the same time. Why? We don't know. Coincidence? Who knows? Terrifying, yes. But the craziest, most horrifying thing about this is the disappearance and death of a tourist who's staying at the Cecil Hotel. And the last thing they see is footage of her, this is real, in the elevator arguing with nothing. Then she ends up
I've seen that.
disappearing. Then people staying at the Cecil start complaining that the water tastes funny. And when they go up to the water tank and open up a sealed water tank, there are no doors on this thing. There is no way to get inside this thing. They find her floating in there.
No.
This is 100% real. Yes. Dead body
And
in
I
the water
think
tank.
the only reason they checked the water tank was because I think they were getting complaints about like
The water
rotten,
tasting
like,
funny.
water
People
tasting funny, and I think
drinking
like yellow and brown water. Yeah.
Yep. Horrifying.
That's the scariest thing I've ever heard on Lock the Door.
It is one of the scariest stories because it's true. It's one of the most haunted places ever. They closed it down after that, and now it's rebranded as a brand new hotel. You can still stay there.
Oh my god.
I'll pass.
Let's go.
Field trip. So it's based off of the Hotel Cecil. It's based off of H.H. Holmes' Murder Castle. It is a fantastic set. The set piece looks exactly like the inside of the Hotel Cecil. It has like Hotel California vibes too, like from that Eagles song. I kid you not. They threw everything at this, and it is so great. They have the Ramirez serial killer stuff happening in this, the Night Stalker, original Night Stalker, LA in this time period, so crazy and full of serial killers. Lady Gaga delivers a performance that I think made everybody go, oh shit, she can act? Hell yeah, she can act. What did you think? She's a performer through and through. Angela Bassett's back, rocking the shit out of it. I was so into this season, and I also think that this season has the fewest like wheel spinning moments. It stayed at a high level from beginning to end.
And it really amps the shock factor up compared to the other season.
Ooh,
Like there's a lot of like
I was uncomfortable.
as a lifelong horror fan, there's a lot. It takes a lot to make me wince. There was a few scenes in there which I'm not going to go into detail that made me really uncomfortable.
Is
So-
it the demon with the
Drill the drill
the drill dough? Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
say the
that-
word dildo?
we
Yeah,
did.
sorry.
Your ears do not deceive you, because I remember that
Sorry.
opening scene where Schmidt from New Girl goes in and then that pops up. I was just like, no, they're not going to do it. Oh my
did
God, they're doing it.
Yeah,
like-
horrifying.
Oh,
What?
Is
Yeah.
this hotel in LA?
Yes. Yeah.
You guys need to do a live recording together at the location in a room. I'm just saying. Are you too scared?
I
Yeah.
am too scared. I'll admit it.
All tune in.
I don't fuck with ghosts.
You could for 30 minutes of block of horror if you're not.
I could do that midday though. We're going noontime. I'm not going midnight.
No, Aaron, we're gonna do it on a bench outside the hotel.
Yeah, I don't need to
That's
go
how
in
we're
there.
gonna do it.
Do it.
Yeah, Cecil Hotel. It's still, the building's still there. I mean, it still exists. It was called Stay on Main. It was rebranded, but it closed during the pandemic. Go figure. Everybody's saying double dare you. I challenge you. All right, you guys got to show up though. If we're going to do it, we're going to stay at the Cecil, Stay on Main, whatever they're calling it now.
Do it. Go to the roof with the water tower in the background.
I'm not drinking the water. I'm bringing all my own water. We did a ghost hunt in Salem once, and it was really fun. And we did get some EVP out of it. That was freaky. He didn't say anything interesting. The ghost says ballroom dancing, and we were like, "That you could have said anything. Could have said anything, ghost." What I was going to say about the character of Liz Taylor, is so interesting because it opened my eyes to something, and it's the fact that when you share stories from other perspectives that you're not used to, it really can change your perspective. And even though it's a horror show, even though it's fanciful, you have a character who I don't know how to label. That's not for me to do, but it's played by a man, and he's in a dress, and it was such an interesting, eye-opening thing for me because I felt so much for this character. I love this character. Her story is beautiful. The arc of it is beautiful, and it really opened up my eyes to sort of just a different perspective. And I think it's really important for those stories. And I always point to this as something that's like, there's a positive in all this bloodshed, in all this darkness, to see Liz Taylor's story come through. And I was like, that was such an important part of this season. And I think points to some of the power of American Horror Story is that it can take this camp and take this murder and take all this stuff, but also tell a beautiful story for some characters. And if people take that away, I think that's the value of the show throughout everything that it's done, is to be able to bring all sorts of audiences to people who are considered freaks, people who are ostracized, characters who need abortions. It did bring these stories to the forefront while wrapping them in blood and guts and gore. You came for the blood and gore, you stayed for a human story. And I think that's part of the beauty of American Horror Story. That's, again, I have no transition to get into this.
Here's the story.
Right? Hell yeah. But what if Kathy Bates was in this season too briefly, but this is my favorite season, and I think it will go down as being like where it peaked for me. I didn't watch Roanoke because we're now getting into the time period where
this is where a lot of people kind of dipped off.
Well, something happened in 2016 that made things get weird. So I didn't want to watch TV. I just wanted to stare into the void. Skylar, you're more of an expert on Roanoke. Where does this season go? Is this a redeeming season? Is it still good? Where do you land with it?
Yeah, so I think I would definitely call this one I wouldn't say guilty pleasure. That's a little too harsh because it is good. It tells a complete story. It does a lot of really ambitious things. It is reframing the haunted house storyline, very similar elements from season 1, but reframing it as a docuseries. And then halfway through, it again reframes itself as a reality show where it brings the actors from that docuseries and the real people they were portraying, makes them all live together in a Big Brother style house where the ghosts from the docuseries then try to pick them off one by one. Angela Bassett, Kathy Bates, Sarah Paulson, Evan Peters for 1 second. Just great casting, ambitious format, and different from anything
Adina
they've done
Porter.
before.
Adina Porter
Porter
was really the standout for this season. Like I feel
For
like
sure.
like each season there is a powerhouse performance. Adina Porter was that powerhouse performance in that season. Like to me, that was like damn. Like when I saw her, I was like, because I know she had a brief role in Murder House as one of Dylan McDermott's patients, and this one I was like, damn, she's really good. Like they need to bring her back, and to me, she was even better in Cult. I thought, which she actually was nominated for an Emmy for, which I thought she was even better. But yeah, I mean, I want to see Adina Porter and more stuff. So she's so great. And I think
That's
this
what
season,
I've been preaching the get Adina Porter better roles on AHS for like my last 4 videos on my channel. So I agree.
and then, but yeah, that's to me, this season's very underrated. I think it gets a lot of hate because again, it is so different. Like it has like such a different formula, like Skylar described. But if you watch it, it's very entertaining. I mean, Sarah Paulson's great. Adina Porter's great. You got Kathy Bates, who goes almost Nicolas Cage levels of crazy.
Yes.
And she nails it. But yeah, I thought this was a really entertaining season. And when people are like, oh, this is where I stopped watching, I was like, why? This one's a lot of fun. It's very underrated.
I might come back to this because I am a fan. I do like Cuba Gooding Jr. as an actor. I like seeing what he does in this sort of thing. Hollywood, Big Time Hollywood, Florida is one of my favorite comedy shows that he was in. He played a villain in that, which is hysterical. After this, we get into Cult, which again was too real. I watched the first few episodes. I was like, this is way too real for me. You get killer clowns coming out of this one left and right. Evan Peterson, though, delivering anybody who has watched American Horror Story knows Evan Peterson is probably like one of the best actors to come out of American Horror Story, from basically being an unknown to then being like just this powerhouse centerpiece for the whole series. He obviously was delivering. I just couldn't handle it. Was too real at the time. We were just living, starting to get into the no, this is 2017. We're still in the other dark time. It was too real. What about Cult is worthwhile? What about Cult is freaky? Are there any standout scenes that made this like still cool?
Skylar, I'll let you start.
I would say, okay, I'll say it definitely uses the 2016 election like verbatim as a jumping off point. First 2 episodes, you're like, all right, like, is this what this is going to be about? And then they do take some breaks from that. It is, interwoven throughout, and they circle back to similar themes in the end. But a lot of what I like about this season is how it explores the cult itself, and how the character of Allie Mayfair Richards is like she's a parallel to Lana Winters, a little too similar, some might say, but like for a while it does focus on her being gaslit, being tormented by everyone around her. And, there's something that happens off screen. I wish it happened on screen, but in the second half of the season, she is a completely active turn on that character, and she very methodically acts out her revenge. And so from that perspective, that's what I think back and enjoy upon the season. And it's another one that Sarah Paulson, Evan Peters, those two carry fully.
Big time.
Yeah. And I agree with everything you just said. I would add Adina Porter also.
Adina Porter, yeah.
Yeah, she was so good. 2016 was a weird time, wasn't it? Oh my God. It was so weird. Because not only the election, but it was
Diaries at the time. And it's like, so I was like buried under Vampire Diaries. And then this show came out, and like everybody, it was like that water cooler. Everybody was trying to watch it. And then everybody was like, yeah, I'm sad.
um,
Let's go to
It-
Shake Shack.
it was one of those weird times because again, like 2016, of course, there was a lot of anxiety around the election and the results of the election and the aftermath of what would happen. There was a lot of anxiety because also, Aaron, I think it happened. I think it was mostly Southeast. The clown appearances, the random clown appearances. I mean, that happened in my neck of the woods in North Carolina. I'm pretty sure it happened where you're at, Aaron. I don't know if it happened where you guys are at, Abby and Skylar, but where people would just be walking down the street and they get to like a secluded wooded area and someone would just be standing with a clown, like in a clown mask and clown
This
costume.
is real.
Like,
Yeah,
this is real.
the clown
Why did
sightings of
people-
2017.
I must have been busy. I don't know what was the clown hurting people.
No, just being creepy.
They would just stand there and scare people.
and
Oh.
they were doing it for the gram or
Ah.
what was it at the Vine at the time?
Yes. Right.
like it was people being freaky on purpose, but it started getting stalkery, and then people were beaten. If anybody was dressed as a clown, they were getting beat up, and it was real weird. It was a
Clown
weird
on clown crime.
clown.
Gotta do that.
There's a vast hierarchy of clown gangs in this.
No, we don't support that.
It was very strange.
That was a weird time. So it really played on the anxieties and fears that a lot of us had around that time. Again, the powerhouse performances, the last half where Sarah Paulson's character is slowly planning her revenge is very satisfying to watch. The ending was great. But yeah, to me, this is like truly American Horror Story's last like great season.
Really?
Because everything after that, I would say after that, we got Apocalypse, which I thought was pretty good. I thought they tried to
Super contained. I mean, it's all in that bunker, which is interesting.
I think they were trying to kind of connect pieces together, connect seasons together that didn't work together. I think it's like putting a square peg in a round hole is what I felt like they were trying to do. 1984, I really enjoyed. I'm a sucker for 80s slashers. I thought that was a lot of fun.
That one was a return to form, but at the same time, that one did not. It's hard. The complication and the soap operification of what they did well is hard to put into a 80s slasher formula because they're so simple, and they tried really hard to make a camp slasher super complicated. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I give them props for vibes. It felt so 80s and real, and I enjoyed that, but it doesn't stand out compared to, like, man, you guys see Coven? You guys see Coven? And this is where you landed. It's not bad. I don't want to knock your efforts, but you can tell that Ryan Murphy is not involved with the writing as hard. You can tell that it's just it's relying more on the 80s gag than it is on its own like cleverness. That I don't think they came up with a story that was as good as what they were doing at Asylum. But still fun. 80s camp is always a great setting. Come on. Abby, do you have a favorite 80s horror? Are you a fan of like 80s horror?
No.
But you just like you'll be in one if you got cast. I'm sure you would rock it, right?
I give my all when I'm invited to participate in someone's story.
Hell yeah.
To date, I have not done 80s horror. I did 50s horror for the show Them on
Very
Amazon.
cool.
It was like Compton, Black, monsters, horror genre, Marvin. It was great. It was Little Mervin, and it was great, but not 80s. I haven't made it to the 80s yet.
1984 was fun, but then we get to double feature. Your favorite, Chase?
Okay, first of all, Skylar, I want to thank you for doing a deep dive on the second half. Death Valley, that's Death Valley, right? Because I didn't finish it. Me and my partner, like we watched Red Tide. We watched all of Red Tide. Red Tide could have been good. Red Tide, I think if they had fleshed it out into a full season as opposed to just a short 6-episode season. If they had done like the full 10, you know, because the last 2 episodes felt so rushed. It just felt like they like wrote this great story and they're like, someone went, hey guys, like we're not doing a full season for this one. It's going to be split into 2 different stories. You got to wrap this shit up. Like, come on. And that's what it felt like. They're like, oh shit. So the last 2 episodes, they're like, oh, this happens. And we'll just resolve this character. People will buy it up. And that's what it felt like. And then, yeah, Death Valley. Oh boy. I have not finished that to this date. Me and my partner were watching it, and like we watched 2 episodes, and I was like, we just looked at each other like we can't. Then like a couple years later, my partner looked at me. He's like, hey, you know, we gotta probably eventually go around to finishing it. And I straight up said, the fuck we are. Skylar, I know you just did a couple videos.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. The Red Tide. Okay, so this was the first season after the pandemic, a whole year off of the air. Red Tide at first felt like it was going to be like really good. Honestly, it was really strong visuals, really interesting characters and themes. They were a little simple, but you know, if it was only going to be 6 episodes, we thought maybe they were setting themselves up to just tell a complete story that's spooky. And, you know, I was along for the ride. And then, yeah, episode 5 is really strong, wraps up a couple of the characters. And then we get into the finale of Red Tide, and it's a mess. I mean, we have like 5 of our main characters killed in one scene, like over the span of like 30 seconds. It's so anticlimactic. Yeah, very anticlimactic, very...
And it's random. Like, there was no build up to it. It's like, you felt like they could have done more. Then it's just like, oh, they're dead now.
No!
Yeah, and they just choose a couple of them to make a really long epilogue that no longer takes place in Provincetown, which, you know, gave the season so much atmosphere and character. Now we're back in Los Angeles for no reason, and it's turns into an apocalypse again, and it's a mess. And then Death Valley is, you know, half in the 40s, 50s, 60s, detailing various presidential administrations, a lot of conspiracy theories involving Amelia Earhart, John F. Kennedy, reptilians, aliens, alien abductions, treaties with aliens, etc., etc.
They went into the Montauk Project. So the Montauk Project was written by 3 men. This is real. The Montauk Project, which that is based off of, Stranger Things is based off, a lot of things are based off this. 3 guys who are batshit crazy, real life human beings, yes, and the shit out of each other, and wrote 5 books called The Montauk Project. It's all bullshit, but it's entertaining, and it is the craziest stuff you've ever heard of. Like one of the guys claims to have his brain from 2730 implanted back in his 12-year-old self, and 2 of them are brothers, even though they're not brothers. And they were in the Philadelphia experiment, and they did all these projects, and they're the greatest psychics you've ever seen. And they just yes and each other constantly. That's where this comes from. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then the craziest thing about Death Valley to me is you have all that going on in the first half of these episodes, but even within this half season, which isn't a half season, like someone said, it's only 4 episodes. Double features 10 episodes, 6 are Red Tide, 4 are Death Valley. And so in these 4 episodes, only half of them are devoted to all the president stuff. And those are all shot in black and white, a lot of interesting stuff going on, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. But then halfway through, we are in the present day with some very annoying characters, and they are being abducted by aliens. They are being transported to Area 51, being experimented on, and they are all pregnant with alien babies, and it's so much worse than the first half.
Isn't that fun? It's sad to see how far the mighty have fallen. It really, I mean, I've heard nothing but misstep for it, which is sad because the show started so strong, but it's not done yet. It still takes a couple swings. I mean, season 11 takes place in New York. This is basically cruising turned into a TV series.
Talking about the AIDS crisis
AIDS
of
epidemic.
the 80s, which
Yeah.
I think could have been better if it wasn't American Horror Story. Because
Sure.
it's taken itself very seriously. It lacks the camp. It lacks the kind of crazy twists and plots. I think if it's, I know it's very divisive among fans. I think if it had been something else, like its own miniseries called NYC or something, I think it would have been better received.
Yeah, because I mean, it's so reality based. I mean, the serial killers in New York in the 80s, the AIDS epidemic, are real stories that should be told. But to wrap it in, this might be unfair to say. It almost seems like a disservice to put it in a horror show wrapper, because this was reality and very horrific. And it's almost, I don't know, it's almost a disservice to the people who did have to survive that and go through that. But not to say, give you A for effort, good for trying to.
Does it feel like it would have been better as American Crime Story? Because aren't those anthologies like true things that really happened? He was doing that at the same time, right?
I'd say there's definitely an argument. They could definitely make a case for it. This does, American Horror Story NYC does try to get into, like, thematically, I guess, like the whole how the government handled the AIDS crisis and how Reagan, ignored it. And, there's definitely an argument that from that perspective, it could have been told in a different one of his own shows. But in a slight contrary point, I think it really could have worked as a season of American Horror Story. Like, some of the best seasons, not the best seasons, but I do really enjoy when they do try to inject real American history and horrific things of American history. And I think for a lot of the season, they tell the story of the AIDS epidemic through the metaphor of a serial killer who, by the end of it, he's not actually there. He is fully a metaphor for the virus. And
about
it
Big
works.
Daddy?
Yes, he's named Big Daddy.
Yeah, the leather guy.
Yes. It works sometimes. I think it definitely works way better on rewatch. I wish they let the audience know a little bit earlier that was what was happening. It kind of seemed like they were both happening at the same time, and there was also the serial killer. And then by the end of it, when you actually see what they were trying to say, I like what they're trying to say. I wish they were saying it the whole time. And then the finale itself and a lot of the episodes do feel like they are edited down significantly. Some of the episodes are only like 30 minutes long. There was definitely a lot that went on in the behind the scenes that I don't know.
I think there's sometimes a moment when it's almost more frustrating when you get so close. Man, you really walked this line of, you almost nailed it, but you were so close that it's almost more frustrating than if you whiffed super hard. Like, if it was just trash and you're like, well, it didn't work, bummer. But it's like, man, there's so many great ideas here and really great themes and a great cast. I mean, the cast is fantastic here. Zachary Quinto's back. I mean, Cal Penn, who I love that guy and everything he does.
Patty LuPone is back.
Patty LuPone's back.
Yeah.
You have some incredible
Isaac
people.
Cole Powell, who was in Death Valley, who kind of got a mixed reception for his performance in Death Valley. Really proved himself in NYC. It just proved that he's not a bad actor like people were saying. It was just bad writing. And he nailed it this season. I thought he was so great.
Yeah.
And like him and like Patty LuPone, they do grab a lot of Broadway actors. They both Isaac comes from Broadway. And the writing is hit or miss for me, but they all can act, and it's got atmosphere. It's got
very much so.
I want to rewatch it soon. I need to reappraise.
So I think what really hurt this season, though, we were talking about in the waiting room. Skylar, you did a whole video about it. Like, there was no promotion for it. It was literally like, we got no teaser trailers. We got no set, footage from the show as a trailer. We just got like a couple posters with people in S&M gear, and that was it. And it felt like Ryan Murphy was more focused on Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story that was premiering on Netflix around the same time. And again, it was like FX were like, oh, we're doing 2 episodes a night now. So they finished it, as opposed to being 10 episodes spanned across 10 weeks. It was 10 episodes spanned across just a singular month. And it, you know, it just felt like FX didn't care, and the audience just kind of felt like, why should I care?
And at the same time, they were promoting the 2nd season of the spinoff, which was on Hulu.
Yeah.
So we have that show with a different marketing budget on Hulu, and then NYC, which has, this is right after the Disney merger. There's a lot of murmurs of their marketing team has evolved significantly since then. So that could explain why there was no marketing. Since then, there has been better marketing for the 12th season. But as a person who talks to people who are like vaguely familiar with the show, they thought that the season that was coming up was about dolls, because the spinoff was themed, the ads were themed around the Dollhouse episode. And so they thought the next season of American Horror Story was all about a dollhouse. So they fully just hid this season almost from the general public.
That's a great point, Skylar, because there were a lot of people I talked to who thought American Horror Stories was that season of American Horror Story. Like, oh yeah, did you check out the new season of American Horror Story? Each episode is different. I'm like, no, that's the spinoff. There's an NYC is the season that
they did full anthology at that point. Well, I know there's one season left, but we're going to begin the wrap up because we've gone so over.
And also,
Abby,
that season was really bad.
Oh, was it? Well, I'm gonna get thoughts. I'm gonna get thoughts on it in a second, but I want to give Abby. Thank you so much for coming on. It was really a pleasure having you. Thank you for bringing all your enthusiasm and great stories to it. People, like, let's give plugs, and then we're gonna close out with some thoughts on Delicate. But give us some plugs. What are you working on? Where can people find you? Can they follow you?
Yeah, I'm on Insta, Abby Cobb, with Abby with an IE. So many B's in my name, too many B's, so many. That's where I am on Instagram. I'm recurring on 2 shows this year, a Tyler Perry show called She the People, and that'll air end of May and then again in the fall. And then a new Ethan Hawke show called, I think it's called The Sensitive Kind. They might change the name. Shooting Out in Oklahoma, and that'll be on in the fall. It's like a detective kind of story. It's good fun. It's a good stuff.
That's super exciting. Well, it was awesome to hear your American Horror Story tales and to see your keepsake box. That was really fun.
Right. Tales from the box.
Hey, you got a podcast right there. You're like, here's all the stuff I worked on.
That's right.
Skylar, as always, your knowledge is mind-blowing. I love your expertise and very thoughtful insight to all this stuff. Where can people follow you, and what are you up to?
Yeah, so Skylar Gaetano on YouTube is mostly where I'm at, but you can probably find me on most of the other things under that. Lots of deep dives on American Horror Story I've just done. I'm doing some more. I'm going to ramp up to Apocalypse. So I'm going to do Murder House, Coven, and then Apocalypse. But that's going to take a long time. So I'm also doing a lot of other stuff. I want to deep dive into one of my favorite directors that I've been wanting to do this for a couple of years, but I'm going to deep dive into Wes Craven's filmography and sort of break it up by the decades. And yeah, that's mostly what I'm working on. Perfect.
That's amazing. Chase, what do you got going on?
Yes. First of all, Abby, thank you for coming on. I loved hearing your stories. It was a pleasure having you. Skylar, thank you for coming back. Whenever Aaron mentioned American Horror Story, we were both like, we got to get Skylar. So yeah, and also thank you. A lot of it, since again, I didn't really have a lot of time to watch 12 full seasons of hour-long shows. So a way I got a lot of kind of my refreshing in was actually watching a lot of your videos and someone you've collabed with a lot, Kane Varner. So I watched a lot of both of your videos. So thank you for coming back, Abby. Thank you. So yeah, you can follow me. Well, first of all, see me here every Saturday on Half Hour Horror with Aaron. You can follow me on Instagram, Letterboxd, X, and Blue Sky at OHChase, and TikTok at OHChase_.
We got to give away some blood coin. If you guys are over on our Discord, the secret word for some blood coin is going to be AHS, American Horror Story. It's 3 letters. It's so easy. So if you go over to the Discord at blockofhorror.com, all things Block of Horror on all the socials. But join our Discord, keep the conversation going. Go over there. This week we don't have a Letterboxd list because Letterboxd doesn't do TV seasons. Womp womp. But type in AHS, get you some blood coin. Guys, tomorrow, the show that I have put my life into, The Walking Dead comes back with Dead City Season 2. Go find out what happens with Maggie and Negan. It is peak Aaron McClain career for me. This is some of the hardest and best work that my team has ever done. I have to give the biggest shout out to all the VFX companies that worked on this season. Frame Store, Crafty Apes. I got Weta to do work on this show, which if you guys are in the VFX world, they're one of the best VFX companies in the world. They just did some incredible sequences for us. Ingenuity, big shout out to them. Mr. Wolf, obviously, and then Zero VFX out in Boston, just crushing it with some incredible work. So watch Dead City, look for amazing VFX across the board. You'll be blown away. It is some of the best stuff that the team has ever done. So I am very, very, very proud and excited of this season. Oh, and shout out to the AMC in-house team. 4 guys who just put their life into this season, doing stuff that you'll never even know are VFX, and then doing like really cool little VFX of their own. We get the bat has electricity. In-house guys did that. Tire fire. In-house guys did that. Big shout out to all those guys. So mad love from the VFX supervisor to all the people who worked on that. Please watch. We need more seasons. I need a job. You can follow me on my other show, Launchpad Pod. And till next week. Oh, wait. One last word. Skylar, Delicate. How did Keeping Up with the Kardashians do?
Right. So it's based on a novel. It's weird. It was right before the writer's strike. It was written by one writer. I believe they were anticipating the writer's strike. That's just a theory, though. But yeah, it led to some weird things. A lot of repeated themes. Rosemary's Baby vibes again.
Okay.
Kim Kardashian was there. She had some moments where she's kind of playing herself, and she does like good, kind of like a Emma Roberts type mean girl character. But towards the end of the season, they try to push her limits a little bit, but I don't know if it works. But you can be the judge of that.
I think Kane Varner said it. It's basically AHS reheating Rosemary Baby's nachos. So
I am hungry for nachos now. Thanks, Chase. Till next time, everybody, we appreciate you. Thanks you for coming on. Thanks for listening. This has been a half hour or way over a half hour. Bye.